Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. And have you ever considered that time itself could be transphobic? You better throw away your clocks, because this next lash claims that queer and trans people actually experience time completely differently.
Did you know that queer and trans people actually experience time completely differently to cishet people? It's a concept called queer temporality, and it basically has to do with the fact that historically, as queer and trans people, our lives have started much later and for a whole bunch of reasons ended earlier than our cishet counterparts. So as a result, our experience of time is compressed.
Ooh, wowee, there's a lot to unpack there. What else didn't we know about the passage of time? I could not be more fascinated.
Those milestones that we've been socialised to use to mark the passage of time, so things like marriage or having children or, working, retiring, inheritance, things like that, haven't been accessible to us. And that linear timeline has a name: heterochronology.
There you go, you learn something new every day. Didn't know queer folk were prevented from working and retiring. Now to Lefty Losing It headquarters, MSNBC, which makes the crazy folk at CNN look calm and rational. Here's Adrienne Elrod claiming that it's Trump foreign policy that folks need to fear, not the unholy mess Biden has made over the past 3.5 years.
And during these challenging times on the foreign policy front, on the global front, can you imagine having Donald Trump back in the White House trying to manage all of this? I mean, President Biden's a seasoned foreign policy pro. He served, of course, as the chair on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for a long time. He has these relationships with world leaders that go very, very deep. So we're going to be reinforcing the fact that that's an important attribute that the president has.
Yes, Adrienne, I'm sure the American people are just terrified of Trump returning them to peace and prosperity, to 4 years of no new wars, of historic peace deals being struck between Israel and Muslim-majority nations. Somehow the Biden administration's profound weakness, emboldening the likes of China, Russia, Iran and North Korea, isn't making us safer. We're all shocked. Now back to Australia and the city of Melbourne in the great state of Victoria, where the leftist government has accrued record debt while pushing a relentlessly leftist agenda, and where feral far-left activists routinely block city roads for protests, and they're not shy about abusing police. Listen here as they taunt the retreating officers with things like "Run, you son of a slut," and "you effing rats." Charming stuff.
Hey, yeah, run! Run, you son of a run, you dogs! You rats! You rats! You dogs! You rats! Dogs!
I got to say, I do feel for the police working at the coalface. Their woke overlords in police command have taken a knee to this far-left lunacy, whether it's BLM or the climate protests or these anti-Israeli mobs. Time for some French folk losing it. The EU elections have just taken place and the results were shocking for lefties, with Europe swinging hard to the right, and some folk took the news better than others. If you want a clue as to why so much of Europe is swinging hard to right-wing parties that want to cut immigration and abandon net zero and other neo-Marxist nonsense, then look at these scenes from Nantes, in France, where Antifa mobs break the windows of a building because it's flying the French flag. Yeah, I can't imagine why folks are rejecting socialist lunacy. Time now to visit lawless California, and here are folks achieving social justice in Los Angeles. Just kidding, they're just ransacking an AutoZone store.
Stores just completely trashed. In an intense, crazy situation, there was a street takeover. The store was mobbed. The AutoZone, it ransacking, flipping that store upside down. We also see several people walking out with several pieces of merchandise.
And time now to check in on the leader of the free world. He is celebrating the made-up holiday, Juneteenth. And of course, he has no idea what is happening. We did not manipulate that footage to make the president look utterly lost and bewildered. That's all Joe. That's all natural. And it didn't get any better when he got up to dance, or try to. What's he doing with his hands? Again, that footage has not been in any way manipulated. It's not AI, it's not a deep fake. That's the leader of the free world. Not sure who the bearded dude is in the sequin dress who's dancing next to Mr. Kamala Harris's husband. But let's just watch a bit more of this. I don't wanna love nobody but you.
For the rest of my life.
All I wanna do is make you proud of me. Let's bring in Adam B. Coleman, founder of Wrong Speak Publishing and author at adambcoleman.substack.com. Adam, first, to tell my audience what Juneteenth is. Not many Australians would be across that. And what do you make of the president's obvious cognitive decline there? He didn't seem to know what was happening.
Well, thank you for having me on. Juneteenth is something that really originated out of Texas because the last slaves who were notified that they were free were actually in Texas. So Juneteenth is supposed to signify that day when the last of the slaves were freed in America. So it's really something that was more regional until it became a national holiday. But it was more of a regional thing. People have barbecues and stuff like that. It wasn't really seen as a big deal, but it became more so a national holiday. And I guess in some ways it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a celebration of freedom in the United States. And as far as what's happening with Joe Biden, I think there are a lot of Americans, including Black Americans, who are concerned with his very obvious cognitive decline. When I was a Democrat, I saw the decline, and I couldn't believe that they were still pushing this man forward, and somehow he won. So it's only gotten worse since.
It has, and even 4 years ago, I was playing some footage a couple of days ago from his campaign into that 2020, and the decline just in that time is very obvious when you look at him back then, and back then he wasn't great either. Now let's talk about the WNBA, not a topic we broach too often on this program, but I've got to say, it's got an attitude problem. They are breaking viewing records thanks largely to one single player, Caitlin Clark, but it's clear most of the young ladies are not ready for prime time. Some of them are claiming harassment when journalists ask them questions.
Ms. Carter, have you gotten a chance to reach out to Caitlin? Hey, man, come on with that. Relax. Have you gotten a chance to reach out to Caitlin? Trinity, have you gotten a chance? The basketball world wants to know if you've gotten a chance to reach out to her.
She was being asked about why she felt it was appropriate to give Caitlin Clark a hip and shoulder, as we call it in Aussie rules. And a lot of these Caitlin Clark haters are going to be happy because she's not been selected for the US Olympic team. But I think she showed wonderful grace and gave a very humble response when asked about this disappointment.
I'm excited for the girls that are on the team. I know it's the most competitive team in the world, and I know it could have gone either way of me being on the team, me not being on the team. So, I'm excited for them.
Adam, make me understand the vitriol this girl is copying. It's a mystery to us watching in Australia. She's making these athletes relevant, possibly profitable. Why are they hostile towards her instead of being happy that they're finally getting some attention for their league?
You know, I might have a differing viewpoint on this entire scenario, but I think much of it is somewhat contrived from when she was in college. I know that she has a bit of a reputation as far as being a dirty player herself and trash talking. Not necessarily being a dirty player, but trash talking. And, I wonder if people are hyper-focusing on the racial narratives that happened during the NCAA tournament and thinking that this is carrying on into the WNBA, when in reality, the WNBA, we might have jokes about it, but it's still a professional league. These are grown women, not college students. And just like any other sport, NBA as well, there's hard fouls. Things like this happen. So I'm not sure if it is vitriol or if we're just seeing typical basketball play and inserting a narrative. And I think sometimes we can be a little bit carried away as far as seeing this like a Kardashians episode as to tune in tomorrow to see who dislikes Caitlin Clark today. So I think that some of this is just normal basketball stuff. As far as them not being able to handle the limelight, they're not used to people paying attention to them or even knowing who they are. So, maybe they're comfortable with that.
Well, there is definitely a bit of vitriol because you watch some of the press conferences where she's brought up and they ask the players about her. And a couple of clips I've seen, they've refused to answer any questions about her as if she's some sort of a non-entity. So I don't know, there does definitely seem to be a resentment. I'm not saying it's racially based. The media narrative seems to be racially based with the likes of Sunny Hostin on The View making a point about her race, but I don't think that's necessarily where the players are coming from. Now let's talk about the polls. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are currently tied in Virginia, which is a massive surprise. Biden won Virginia comfortably in 2020, and Governor Glenn Youngkin has said that Trump could be the first Republican president who takes his state in 20 years. I've got to say, even on my most optimistic day, Adam, I didn't think Virginia was in play.
Well, there's a lot of moving pieces that are happening right now. Obviously, there are people who are reacting to him getting the felony charge in New York. Many people, obviously, if you hate Donald Trump, this is your Super Bowl. But if you are indifferent or somewhat impartial and you look at all the different court cases that are popping up, and it seems like these are a bit of a stretch of court cases that are being, or charges that are being brought against him because they are, you might be waking more people up than you realize. So I think the Democrats might be in this situation helping Donald Trump more than they think. I do have a love-hate relationship when it comes to polling, because prior to his conviction, there were polling data that was showing that if Donald Trump was to actually have a felony while running for president, that independents would largely pull away from him. So I don't know if it's a change of viewpoint from independents or it's just a different poll and they're just getting different results. But I think the polls can show a trend. Maybe Virginia is closer than we thought, But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody, whether you're Democrat or Republican, should take this as being some sort of victory or a loss. There's a lot of work to be had.
Oh, absolutely. November's a long time away, but
yes.
We do love the polls. And let's look at some of the crucial swing states. Some of the latest polling coming out is showing nationally Biden and Trump are even. But in those swing states, it's a different story. He is leading in every swing state by the polls that we saw from yesterday. And look at this poll of 4 of the swing states of Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, and North Carolina, showing massive margins to Trump. Almost insurmountable, Adam, the margins we are seeing there. North Carolina 78-22, Arizona 61-39. And I do wonder whether there's a shift happening in the culture. The Democrats have been so dominant when it comes to pop culture, the celebrity sphere of influence. And my argument is they should have zero influence. No one should be listening to celebrities when they're determining their vote. But the celebrity class do come in hard for the Democrats, whether we're talking about Hollywood A-listers or athletes or rock stars. But this time there is just a small number, and it is a small number, who are bold enough to say, we're backing Trump.
So it seems like a lot of celebrities are kind of like voting for Trump now. I mean, why do you think people are kind of like changing their way of like?
I think we just did our research and we're just, we're not brainwashed anymore by the left. I can say that about myself. All these years I've been brainwashed and I'm not anymore.
The significance of African American men in this election for both of you.
I see them identifying with Trump.
Why do you say that?
Because they got RICO charges.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done.
Adam, we don't have much time. Do you think this will have any impact on the election?
Not really. But I do think it matters that Trump is seen as a countercultural figure. So there might be more and more people that come out who are in the celebrity class, who may be on the fringe of the celebrity class that say something. But do I think that they're going to push anything over the edge? No, I think regular people will.
Hopefully you're right, because I don't want celebrities from either side swaying anyone's vote. Adam B. Coleman, thank you so much for your time this evening.